This is the It's Just That podcast, brought to you by Alpaca, growth strategists. It's just that are potentially the three most negative words in the English language, at least where business is concerned. In this podcast, we are going to be exploring some of the backstories of our favourite clients, local business people and prominent entrepreneurs, and exploring a little bit more about what's stopping them from achieving the things they dream about. For us, it was buying that Ferrari. For them, who knows? We'll be sitting down in a Ferrari, having a drive around in a Ferrari, and talking to them about their art of the possible, the things they want to achieve but thought they couldn't. Welcome to another episode of It's Just That, the podcast where we meet some interesting people, ask them about their backstory, and then dig a little into those issues that are either stuck on their too hard pile, the problems that they can't solve, or the opportunities they're not getting a chance to solve there. It's just that, something that's stopping them from solving that problem. Today we're meeting Ian McCann, a lawyer, owner of Legal Studio, a law firm for consultants, a passionate advocate for neurodiversity. Let's see what Ian's got to say. Howdy.
Hello. Wow.
Yes.
It's a Ferrari.
Finally. I've been promising you were going this for absolutely ages.
It's definitely a Ferrari.
It's definitely a Ferrari. It's a very pretty Ferrari.
It is.
If you like that sort of thing.
Absolutely.
I do feel professional in this thing. I do feel professional. That's it.
Job done.
Put me behind the wheel of a Ferrari and I am instantly Don Johnson.
And why not? You know, salopettes were a thing. I mean, it's not quite the weather for, a Boss suit with, or an Armani suit, isn't it? With
Armani, yes.
With no belt and no socks.
And it is the wrong era of Ferrari, and I do have two wing mirrors. But
yeah.
We can live with that.
And also their Testarossa was actually a fake.
Yes. Oh, Don, I could go down this rabbit hole for a long time, yeah. Well, no, the Testarossa was real. The Daytona
was fake, yes, sorry.
The Daytona
right,
was fake, and Ferrari threatened them, so they gave them a real Testarossa. So let's be clear, or we'll have Miami Vice fans.
No, that's true.
Right?
Yeah,
if there still are
any
Miami Vice fans out there. It's just that. The point of these podcasts was, as you know, I needed an excuse to buy a Ferrari.
That sounds perfectly reasonable to me.
So I figured, well, why don't we try and turn it into a bit of a marketing gimmick? Go out, interview some people, help them promote their business, and at the same time dig a little into their problems. So what we do is we spend about 10 minutes just looking at your backstory, whatever you're prepared to tell us. Because I know you as Ian McCann, owner and purveyor of Legal Studio. But if we're going to date ourselves using TV references, what's your name and where'd you come from?
Well, so that sounds perfectly reasonable. I will start my timer so that we don't have to worry about keeping time. So yeah, my name's Ian McCann. I'm originally from the northeast of England, the very, very rural part of the northeast of England, a small village outside Barnard Castle, which historically no one had ever heard of. But thank you very much, Dominic Cummings. Everyone knows where it is now. I'm the Chief Engagement Officer at Legal Studio Solicitors, so I own that along with my business partner Matt Dowell.
What does that mean? What does a Chief Engagement Officer do?
Chief Engagement Officer, two things. One, engages with people externally to try and explain to them what we do. I didn't like the title Chief Evangelist, so I made it into Engagement Officer. And secondly, engages with the people in it, which are ultimately our biggest asset, to make sure that they're happy. Because our shtick, our plan, our aim is that we exist to help lawyers enjoy work. So my job is to make sure that they are, and also that other people know that is a thing that you can do. You can be a lawyer and you can enjoy it.
Yeah.
No, honest, really.
Hold that thought, because I'm hoping you'll like this bit.
Oh dear Lord. Wow,
that's why we bought it.
Yeah, I can see that. I can't think why you want that. That makes no sense. Wow. Ladies and gentlemen, may I present to you the V12.
Oh, not long for this world, but my word, they were glorious.
Yes.
I do have to say, genuinely, our other pool car is an electric car.
Yes.
As are most of our teams. My other car is an electric car. I feel like these days I have to apologise a lot.
Well, look, and it's the yin and the yang, isn't it? We balanced it out, and that's okay.
Yes.
So the hole we're burning in the ozone layer, we've filled up with the electric greenery, so it's fine.
We won't have it for very long, and we don't drive it very far, but it does sound glorious.
It sounds great, and for the benefit of the tape, ladies and gentlemen, feels pretty damn good. So
you were saying you're chief engagement officer. So how did you get there then? You're a lawyer by background.
Lawyer by background. So I trained and qualified in the city with a firm called Baker & McKenzie, who were at the time when I trained and qualified the largest law firm in the world by size of office and head count of offices.
Right. This is a bit like airports, isn't it? They all have their own claim to fame. We're the biggest law firm in the world.
Yeah.
By head count, by floors.
By floors, by number of photocopiers rented, whatever it may be. At the time, they were the biggest law firm in the world by number of offices in number of countries. And that was a fabulous experience, but I'd been married a year, and for my first year of marriage I'd spent 7 months in and out of the country on various jobs, and that was, again, it was a great experience, but it wasn't really the life I wanted. So I moved to Leeds, joined another law firm in Leeds, and then did 2.5, 3 years there, and basically had a moment of going, if this is the next 25 years of my life, I'm not interested, thanks. So
now I know a lot of lawyers do that, and then they take a deep breath and go, it's just that I have to.
It's just that I have to, yeah.
You obviously didn't.
No, I didn't. I mean, my wife was pregnant with our first child when I walked out on my job, so it was a biggie.
Funny story. I did that. I got married. I got married in the May, and then quit my job and went off to do an MBA.
Yeah. It's just
there must be something in the water.
There must be something in the water. But I had to do it. I couldn't. For me, I just thought I can't do this. This isn't what I'm prepared to do for the rest of my life. And and I wanted quality of life. And there's no secret about it. I've been very open about it. I've had a number of issues with my mental health, and I had a fairly big wobble before that. Suffering from depression and anxiety, and I just thought I'm not doing it. I then took an ill-advised hard left turn into financial services. Which was great for a year, and it taught me a couple of things. One, I wasn't a particularly good salesman, and two, I was a particularly good advisor. The high point of that being the point where someone said, Ian, is this the best pension for me? And I said, it's the best one I've got. And that was the point where I realised I really had to get out. So I went back into the law and started setting up a commercial litigation department for another firm in the Yorkshire region.
Right.
And
I don't think I knew this bit.
No, and then literally about 2-3 months into that, I kind of sat there one evening, just nobody else in the office, just me working away trying to get all this done, and I had this kind of moment of realisation, which was that if I was a success where I was, then in 3 years' time I was disposable, and if I was unsuccessful in 3 minutes I was disposed. So I was using my brain, my resources, my clients, my connections to do it for somebody else, and that seemed generously a bad idea. So at the time, Legal Studio was embryonic. It had a different name. It was called MDLS Solicitors then, and Matt, my business partner, had set it up. And I just joined there as a consultant, thinking, well, do you know what? I'll just do this. And a couple of months after that, it became quite apparent to both of us that I quite liked the stuff he didn't like, which was the touchy-feely human-y bit and business development.
Yeah.
And he quite liked the stuff that I didn't like, which is the numbers and the kind of accountancy stuff and all of that jazz. And so I made him an offer he couldn't refuse. And the rest is histrionics. So that's...
And so what does Legal Studio do? What is different to other law firms?
So we are one of the breed of consultancy law firms. We cannot claim to have invented the model, we didn't. We can't claim to have perfected the model, we haven't. But we have our own particular spin on it. And the consultant solicitor model essentially is, you are a self-employed lawyer, you come and trade through us.
Yeah.
We do the insurance, the regulation, the back office, the IT, the tech. You bring your clients and do the law.
This is because for those people who don't know or don't care to know, it's not that easy to set yourself up as a lawyer. You need badges and regulation.
Badges and regulation, and you need lots of pools of cash and run-off cover and all sorts of Uncle Tom Cobley and all to do it. And
So you provide that for them, and all they need to do is turn up with their
client base,
pedestal their clients, and an idea,
and an idea or a way that they think they can deliver that, and then they trade through us for a percentage. Roughly, it's 25%. We take of the gross turnover, and we provide them the structure for that. Now, most people do that, and that's it. And we didn't want to do that. So essentially, what we're trying to do is give people an element of the best of both worlds. So we've got a genuine team, cross-collaborative culture, and also culturally, we don't want. We're not looking for people to go, I want to do 300 grand, 400 grand, 500 grand of turnover. We want people that go, I'd quite like to have a life, please, and enjoy what I want to do without somebody telling me when to work, how to work, where to work. So, we've got team members geographically all over the country. They work when they want, how they want. We've just got a new team member who is entirely committed to doing 6 months in the UK and 6 months in Spain. That's what he wants to do, and that works for us. So we're trying to do that. We're also on a bit of a mission to change the culture of law and the perception that comes with a lot of the law and the law as a business, which is that you have to be.
So does this make you? I was recently introduced to this phrase. Does this make you a lawfluencer?
Oh, lawfluencer. Ideally, hope not.
Oh, okay, that's all right. Okay, that's not a good word.
No, well, no, because it's that's harsh. That's unfair and harsh. I don't want this to be about me, and I think that's where I get a little bit. Whilst I am fundamentally the mouthpiece of the business, I still get a little bit squeamish about it being me. It's not really about me. It's about what change we can bring about.
But at the minute, you're the living embodiment of that change.
Yeah, I am the avatar of that, whether I like it or not. And so I don't think I am, because I'm not looking for a kind of social media campaign. What I am, however, looking to be is authentic and truthful. I think the other couple of bits and pieces about my backstory that are really relevant. I'm autistic, late diagnosed 2017 after another I mentioned before, but another kind of very significant issue with my mental health, where I was suicidal and really struggling, and with that I ended up going to a psychiatrist and having a discussion around why do me and the world grate on each other.
Go on.
No, sorry. The conclusion being I am autistic, hence why me and the world grate on each other.
So you can sense the hesitation as I'm trying to find that path between not prying too deeply into stuff that's none of my business, and also understanding how what you've just described makes you. Those wobbles and the autism, are they? Do you think they're linked? Is that you struggling to understand why you and the world grated? And what do you mean by that?
Right, so essentially what I mean by me and the world grating, the best summary I can give is this. Some tasks that people tell me should be really, really difficult, like assimilating lots of different information across multiple kind of information points, bits and pieces, and putting them together and coming up with a solution to a problem, that I enjoy, I can focus on deeply, and I'm really good at, and it doesn't take me very long, and I can do it very well.
Right.
And people castigate me about that, or people castigated me about that because it was supposed to be hard, and you're not supposed to be able to do it. Whereas the flip side is many standard kind of human social interactions and constructs I struggled with enormously, found them really difficult, and people castigated me for that. The best example being, and I think this is what I describe as an autistic landmine, the question, what do you think of this? Especially in a work context. What someone means by that, neurotypical phrasing of that question is, please give me praise for the job I have done. What I hear, unfortunately, is, what do you think of this? And on numerous occasions I have come up with the answer of, well, if you wanted to design a newsletter that no one would read, you've achieved it. Or it's shit, or other such phrases that aren't. That's not the question they were asking, and that's not the response they were looking for. So the world and I don't quite see eye to eye. I also kind of don't innately understand the social constructs that hold together human interaction. I also do something that's called masking. Essentially, I describe it as passing for human. I can fit in as human, but I'm not in that sense. I'm autistic. So doing the job that I did in the pressurized environment that I was in whilst masking caused a huge amount of stress and burnout, and that in turn caused the depression. So they are linked.
Yeah. So does having a diagnosis ease that? I'm sure there's no magic wand that makes those stresses go away, because
I mean
that social construct is still there, and that tension is still there.
Absolutely, and it's still all impenetrable from my perspective. Yes, it does help. I've described it as saving my life because it did. Because it was essentially putting the key in the lock and turning it. And it made me kind of go, oh, so I do that because that. Oh, right, okay. And it also allowed me, I suppose, being completely candid, to go, that's just me. That's how it is for me.
Yeah.
And it allowed me to kind of unlock that final box, which was the start of authenticity. And that has helped me enormously, because I can now deal with situations authentically. I can now put my hand up and go, I really can't deal with the background noise here, or actually, do you mind if I just head off into a quiet corner, or do you know what, I'll work from home today, thanks, or whatever it may be. I can make those adjustments that I need without fearing that someone will have a problem with that, or there being challenges created by it.
Do you feel the world is changing though? Because it's I mean, I have a certain amount of ignorance myself around autism. My little boy's in a class with someone who has it, and we're trying to understand how that works for a 5-year-old.
Yeah.
And I'm always conscious of, as you said, stepping on that landmine of inadvertently saying something that's rude or insensitive and not intending to.
Yeah.
But also trying to understand it, going, we all have elements of our personality that will grate with society.
Yes.
I am, as I tread on eggshells, I'm assuming that is heightened if you are also on the autistic spectrum. But do you find is there more acceptance these days, or do people just claim to be more accepting on social media?
I think there's a couple of things to unpack from that. I think that the kind of the understandable reticence to talk about being autistic and autism, people are nervous about it, but I think that's partially because there is a stereotypical depiction, and the assumption, one of my
the Hollywood depiction.
The Hollywood depiction, the Rain Man thing. Thanks very much. That's helpful. And also, like one of my team, when I first told everybody at work, one of them went, "So when are we going to the casino?" And I went, "Sorry, what?" I said, "Well, you can count cards, right?" No, I can't. And there is a lot of a misunderstanding of what it is. I think there's also a lot of, and one of the things that I find quite challenging is people do, with genuine positive intent, say, "Oh well, we're all on the spectrum." No, we're not. We're just not.
Yeah.
The thing about being neurodivergent, whether you're autistic, ADHD, bipolar, dyslexic, dyspraxic, whatever it may be, your brain is literally wired up different. The car analogy that I've used, my father-in-law used to have a Type 2, a Mark II Lotus Cortina. When you pop the bonnet, there was a big sticker on it that said, "Caution, this vehicle is wired negative earth." That's how I describe it.
Okay.
You're basically wired up different, and because of that, I perceive the world fundamentally differently from how anyone else ever could understand.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that the Venn diagram of being autistic and being other things, there is an overlap. You can be.
Yeah.
And also people can have traits of things that they find difficult that grate on them. Absolutely. But you either are autistic or you're not. It is very much a different thing because it's a different neurotype. In terms of the awareness, I think people are much more aware now than they ever have been. I think the challenge with awareness is, as you've kind of alluded to, is tokenism, which is, we're autism friendly. What does that mean? Well, we have the music turned down a bit and we don't flash the lights as much.
Yeah.
No. The challenge with any reasonable adjustment is that the reasonable adjustments are subjective, and they are always tailored to the individual, and people are so frightened to ask the autistic individual, so what would you need? You know, because the one I come up with is, once you've met one autistic person, that's it. And
you can't generalise. Hence the Hollywood depiction.
Hence the Hollywood depiction. Hence the stereotype.
You can be an autistic savant, but
exactly,
not necessarily.
But not necessarily, but also some autism and autism are different things.
Yeah, exactly.
But it is that. So I think there's a greater awareness. Where we still have a lot of work to do is on acceptance, and acceptance that is a thing. And acceptance that it's also not necessarily the responsibility of the person who is autistic to explain what it is that they need because of that. And that there is a lot of work to do on that, in my view.
So how, if at all, does that lead into the reason we're sat in this car? The it's just that.
The it's just that. So, the it's just that. The thing that I really want to achieve, that's been on my to-do list for a while, is kind of look at how we can change the law and the practice of the law for those that are disabled. Now, I think it's also important that I mention in this conversation, so I'm autistic. I also have a condition called Meniere's disease, which is why you may see, if I turn to the camera, I'm wearing hearing aids currently. So I have bilateral hearing loss, and the other thing that I have with Meniere's is something that affects basically the balance centre of my brain, and it gives me periodic bouts of severe vertigo. And when I say severe vertigo, I mean it, sort of paramedics turning up at the house to inject me with drugs to stop it kind of severe vertigo.
Okay.
And
that's severe.
It's severe, yeah. And so the first kind of problem I've encountered for me I want to change the law for disabled lawyers and to make it more accessible, to make it more disability friendly, is, I suppose, it's still a big one for me, is I haven't quite mentally adjusted to the fact that I am.
Okay, right, yeah.
And describing myself in those terms is a new thing for me.
So there's a desire to do it, and also I can't stray into psychological territory, but you're almost pulling your own punches because you think to say I am that means to admit
that I am, yeah.
Okay.
And there's this cultural thing in the law generally. Oh, that's glorious. Sorry. I'll give it.
You mean that?
Yeah. Oh. Wow, yeah.
Just some light relief.
Just some light relief in a serious topic. Yeah, there's this cultural thing in the law about acceptance and kind of talking about weakness. There's also this element of kind of suggesting that if in some way you need to do things differently than the traditional, that you somehow can't hack it. There's all of these mindsets that I sort of, for want of a better description, grew up with as a junior lawyer.
Yeah.
That it's really difficult to kind of break that and go, yeah, no, I'm disabled twice. And that's a big thing. So, there's been kind of the acceptance of I can't do it, I can't get myself to start, because in order to properly start, I have to really break that fourth wall and go, just by the way, this applies to me as well.
Yeah.
It's me we're talking about.
But you've just done it. You've just said it, and I appreciate it's not that simple, but it's. When did you work that bit out? Is that in the past 20 minutes in the car, or have you always known that you're going, I can't quite admit that? How do you get to break that fourth wall?
How do you get to break that fourth wall? I think what I need to have is a little bit more courage in my convictions. I mean, the other thing that I'm, being recklessly honest, is, I lead a practice of lawyers. I am, as I've mentioned, the face of that. Essentially, kind of going out to the market and going, oh, by the way, I sometimes have early, very rapid onset vertigo, or I fall over and throw up in a bucket. I'm worried about the impact of that. But saying it's not actually that hard. It's like the easy decision, tough implementation. It's what happens after that.
And that is the essence of what I'm. Why am I prattling around in a Ferrari? Aside from because it sounds lovely and it was good fun.
Marvellous. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That was the opportunity to get people in the car and do that. The stuff on the too hard pile. It's just that they're not normally too hard. in the sense of you want to go climb Mount Everest. That is objectively pretty hard. You need a lot of training. It's a long way away. It's going to be cold. You could die.
Yes.
Most of the problems that we try and solve sat here, or at least start towards solving, they're not too hard when you sit down and think of it, but there's something stopping you.
Yeah.
And it's trying to get people to work a bit beyond that. And also, you've said it on camera now, so there is there's an element of, well, you've said it.
Yeah.
You said that this is it. You're kind of committing to it. How do we now do it differently? How do we help you? What's the next step? Because there shouldn't be an impact, should there, in you going out and saying what you've just said?
No. There shouldn't, but and I think this is kind of where they all interlink, which is the profession of law is still one where there is this old school thinking and mentality, and the kind of this well, you know, you need to grind out the chargeable hours, you need to do the all-nighters, you need to do all of these things, and if you're not going out buying a fresh shirt in the morning because you've been at your desk till 4 a.m, you're not trying hard enough. And all of that is generously bullshit, and what that leads to is burnt out, stressed out people and clients with massive bills for no benefit.
Yes.
But it has worked, and so people will continue to make it work. I think what's next is...
Well, there's an element as well of people not having the foresight, the courage to do something differently. That element of even inadvertently going, this is the way that I was trained, this is the experience I had, therefore I will impose that on other people. Not necessarily as a punishment, but just it's learned behaviour, isn't it?
It is.
This is all we know as lawyers.
This is all we know. There are two phrases in the English language that I think are the greatest impediments to progress. The first is, but we've always done it that way.
Yeah.
And we can definitely agree on that. But the second is exactly what you're saying is, well, it was good enough for me.
Yeah.
And that just creates constant cultural stagnation. That one of the things when you have a disability is that some of those traditional things don't work. I mean, the energy that is required to, if you're autistic, the energy that's required to mask, to pass for human, for whatever you want to describe it takes a lot out of you. When you then add in, all-nighters and various bits and pieces, then it's only heading one way, and that is to usually spectacularly crashing burnout or an autistic meltdown, which looks to all and sundry like a grown human being is having a tantrum because essentially they've just lost the ability to deal. Well, they've lost the ability to deal with things.
Yeah.
The sensory overload, the mental load is too much, and you melt down.
Yeah.
Or the alternative, which is an autistic shutdown, which is basically where, and I've done this, where you just go catatonic and mute for days.
Yeah.
That isn't a thing. Whereas, also with the balance challenges that I've got with many years, sleep is a massive thing. Diet is a massive thing. Energy levels and consistency are a massive thing. If you are, in the office every night till 11 o'clock, it just doesn't work.
So, sorry to cut you off. I'm thinking, if you're carrying around all of that, the easy option in a sense is to back off a little bit, give yourself a break, and do a little less.
Yeah.
Is that an option, or are you going the other way and going, no, I need to double down on this and create? What would you be creating as the alternative? I suppose there's the question.
Well,
it is. Let me gather my thoughts and ask that question in an articulate way, which might be a struggle for me.
I very much doubt.
Why not give yourself a break and back off? And if the choice is no, I really want to do this, what is this? What are you building?
So I think what I want to build, to create, to have the opportunity is an actual viable alternative. Because for me, the one thing I'm going to use the motorsport analogies because I'm a fan and it works. So Frank Williams, recently died, team principal for Williams F1. Frank Williams' wife, now widow, Ginny, wrote a book simply titled "A Different Kind of Life," and that's
the phrase he said after his
car accident. After his accident, which is we've had one life, now we're having a different kind of life.
Yeah.
And my attitude towards both of these things has been and is, and I'm still coming to terms with effectively the grieving process of I've had this kind of life.
Yeah.
Now I'm having a different kind of life. What it means is, to continue the motorsport analogy, is to change my driving style from Colin McRae to Jackie Stewart. Which is, I've always been a Colin McRae kind of personality, which is if in doubt, flat out, and let's just do it.
Yes, Colin McRae was infamous for going all out and then flipping it into a
all
field.
out and then flipping it into a field, and that's always been the way that I've done things. 100% commitment, 100% throttle all the time, and there we are.
Yeah.
Whereas the reality is what I now need to do is be more Jackie Stewart, which is, keep it smooth and the speed will come. And that is a mindset shift that I'm still dealing with the kind of, as I said, candidly, the grief process over, because I used to do it one way, I'm now having to do it differently. But
so let's assume you've shifted gears. What are you building? And what does that mean how you shifted gears? I mean, you give yourself longer to do it. What would you build? You said you're looking for a viable alternative.
Yeah. So
describe that viable alternative.
That viable alternative, I think what it is it's not a firm in of itself. It's education of empowerment of other law firms to get disabled lawyers into their firms.
Now, and we've talked about this before. Is that? I'm challenging you now. Is that right? Is it one firm? Because in the past you have talked about building an organisation that hires only autistic
people. I think there's two options. There's either the advocacy piece, which is trying to get people into that, or there is building a law firm that is staffed by those with disabilities.
Yeah.
I think that both are viable and both sound to me like something I'd be quite interested in doing. I think the advocacy piece has the potential for a greater impact, because for me, what is challenging with traditional business thinking is all staff are demanded to what I describe as to regress to the mean. You do a performance review, you're brilliant at X, you're terrible at Y, so what we're going to do is we're going to do less X and you're going to do more Y, so you're average at everything, and we've regressed you to the mean, so you're averagely good at everything. Now, particularly for neurodivergent individuals, that just doesn't work. And so, the idea of saying, well, you're brilliant at X, only do X, don't bother with Y. There's no point, you're not going. You might get a bit better at it, but you're not going to get as good as you are at X.
Yeah, and so, presumably it's also causing you undeniable amounts of stress to be trying to do Y.
Exactly. So don't. And that, I think the advocacy piece is easier. The challenge is, I think you have to build the firm first to allow you to do the advocacy piece, because otherwise they won't believe you that it works.
Yeah.
And I think lawyers particularly are risk averse and very slow to change.
No.
Yes.
Who told you that?
Well, any lawyer that you've ever had to deal with, I think is the end. But because of that, I think I'd almost have to build it first and prove it could be done, and then roll that out.
So there aren't two options. There's one option. This is
Yeah,
working.
this is working.
The way I see it, there are two options, but one of them's crap and rubbish, and you could only do it the other way.
Yeah. Well, there we are. So there we are. That's the answer. Is build. The field of dreams option. Build it,
and they will come. Is anyone doing that? Is anyone doing that anywhere else? A classic alpaca trope of we will help you by stealing an idea from somewhere else. Inspired by. Find someone who has solved your problem in another arena. Has someone done it?
To my knowledge, no. There are unquestionably law firms that have members of staff with disabilities.
Are there other industries? Are they doing it elsewhere?
There are. Yeah. I mean, there's a particularly with autism. There's an organisation called Auticon. They do IT security, coding, various bits and pieces.
Right.
There's a bakery at the bottom of a tower block in Newcastle that predominantly works with autistic individuals.
Okay.
There's a firm called Harry Specter's. They do chocolate. Again, all their employees are autistic. So there are precedents.
Yeah.
But they're not in the professional services capacity, and to my knowledge, not in the law.
So what's truly holding you back from doing that then? I know we keep coming back to that question, because that truly is it's just that. I understand everything you've said. I'm not saying they're not real excuses, real challenges, real reasons. But what is it? What's the fundamental thing that's stopping you back? Is it the
I think the first hurdle is getting over that mental block of, yeah, this is me.
Yeah.
And I think once, because the diagnosis, particularly what's triggered this for me is, I got the diagnosis that Meniere's disease was in lockdown 2, essentially. So I've not had that for very long. I've had the symptoms for a while, but I've not known what it is. And also, I'm still going through the process of looking at potential treatment options for that. I'm in the waiting list for surgery. There's various bits and pieces.
Yeah.
And there is that, the big issue is the acceptance for me of going, yeah, this is now it. This is my reality for the future. The second then becomes, how do I do that alongside what I currently do? The oldie classics: time, money, opportunity. I'm not scalable.
Yeah. What can you get rid of? And the real blunt one, I fully accept all of the acceptance stuff. Let's assume you get to a point where you've accepted it and you're ready to go.
Yeah.
Something's got to give, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Do you at some point have to decide, are you all in on this new firm?
Exactly.
Or trying to do the old one? But I mean, crikey, we both know how hard it is to try and build a law firm, trying to build two simultaneously.
Well, that's the thing, is it mentally I can't wrap my head around, how can you do that? And
well, you probably couldn't alone.
You can't. That's the thing. It's for me.
I mean, is there a group of other lawyers? I mean, obviously there are other lawyers who must have autism. And statistically, that's the thing. Is there?
Actually,
do you know who each other are? Is there a group that is, we are autistic lawyers and have started a support group? Sounds too pejorative. I don't mean that.
No, I know exactly what you mean. An organisation to share.
A group where you can say, God, I find this difficult. How do you cope? What do we do?
Yeah, I mean, I think that there are a number of neurodivergent figures in the law. The obvious one. It's a terrible way of describing it. The one that is probably best well known in the Yorkshire region is Jodie Hill from Thrive. So Jodie has ADHD.
Yeah.
So I know a number of neurodivergent lawyers. There is an organisation in relation to this kind of thing that a friend of mine called Justine Thompson helps facilitate, which is kind of about access to the law. I don't know. I mean, I don't know whether I've not looked for those kind of organisations. Totally honestly, I've not looked. I might be able to find one, but it's, for me, the reality is I could. It is that decision. It's how do I do it? Do I go all in on one? Do I try and go half in both? Do I kind of set the direction in both and have other people do it? If I do that, who do I find that will do that with me, for me? And it's how the reality is if there's one thing I've learned from coming up to 8 years of running a law firm, there's me, there's my business partner, there's the team that we put in place. You can't do it without a team. You just can't. But this kind of Avengers Assemble moment, it's a different set of people. Yeah. You don't. You're trying. You're deliberately. Not only are you going out to set up a law firm that's different, it's more than that. It's a law firm that is actively looking for people that would otherwise fall out of the law. And
my natural instinct at this point is to say, how can I help? Yeah. Playing back the conversation we've just had, I'm not sure we could. Do you need more neurodivergent people to help you with that? But what help would you need? How? I think who helps you to get there, and what help is it?
I think the people that you need to help get there would be those that have a lived experience of whatever condition it is that you're looking to help. If you're particularly talking about autism, then you want that to be led and administered by people who are autistic. There is, in my opinion, nothing more challenging than someone who is neurotypical telling someone who's neurodiverse what would be best for them. It just feels a bit crass at best. So I think you'd probably want individuals with those kind of lived experience of those conditions. But by the same token, I think you'd also want a team of people from a very different industry than the law, because this is going to take all of those skills that traditional lawyers either don't have or feel uncomfortable with.
Right.
The having the difficult conversations, the sitting with the awkwardness, the soft skills, the understanding the kind of waxing and waning of some of the elements of being disabled.
Yeah.
That most law firms. I'm just going to enjoy that, ladies and gents. Sorry. That most law firms not only aren't very good at, but also just aren't interested in. So yeah, that assembling that team. I need to go and look at who else is doing this in different industry sectors and going, can you help me do it over here?
Yeah, I can feel the natural tail off of that of
Yeah. Who is that?
Yeah. So I guess to sum up and wrap up, what next? I've got you here. I've borrowed your time. I'm very appreciative of it. I've joked with everyone I've done this with that there is no aha moment. I did lead to a conversation about Alan Partridge and Tears for Fears in the last one, but there's no moment where we go, aha, we've solved it. We've invented socks. Is the joke I keep going? Yes, there you go. The firm exists. It's going to be bloody hard whichever way you go. But it'd be lovely to have a challenge that we can go, I'll tell you what, the next thing we do is this. The next time we see you, we'll have done
X.
This. Whatever that next baby step is.
I think the next baby step is finishing that acceptance personally and doing that and owning it and getting it out there in the wonders of cyberspace.
Yeah.
And then after that, I think it's a bit of market research on other industry sectors, right? Who is doing this?
Yeah.
How are they doing it? And how are they doing it well? And what have their challenges been? And who is it that's done that? And then, rather shamelessly, cap-in-handly, after having done that research, going to some of them and going, I've got a plan.
Absolutely.
Any chance I could borrow 20 minutes of your time?
And that's the kind of thing that Alpaca's good at. Again, the very real risk of going, oh, neurotypical person is about to tell you what to do. Not at all.
No.
If that's the kind of thing you need help with, then going and poking people and saying, can we have 5 minutes of your time? It was when you said shamelessly cap in hand and going, oh, that sounds like me. Yes, mildly irritating, bit of a persistent little
that's fine. Look, my gran
can help.
My gran had a phrase, which is shy bairns get out.
Oh, yes. See, my grandma was also from the northeast somewhere and had exactly that phrase. Yes, if you don't ask, you don't get.
And you never will. And so yes, I have no problem with that, but it's
so
I need to do that research.
So when you've got the acceptance and you've done the research, let's go ask. Okay.
Sounds like a plan.
I love it when a plan comes together.
Oh.
He says, referencing the classic 80s TV show.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is the 18.
And as we get there, I think it's now time to put Ian McCann in our not so reasonably priced car.
Sounds like a plan.
It's your turn. However, slightly embarrassing, I just need to nip to the loo.
That's allowed.
So I'm going to let you get comfortable before we play the handbrake challenge.
Okay.
And I will be back in a couple of minutes.
Sounds like a plan.
Now, your wife told me that you were a big fan of 80s TV shows.
Now in the car.
We had the Ferrari.
We're now in the car with Magnum P.I. That's officially made my day. Well done.
Well, I'm very pleased.
Well done, that man.
The question now is how long I keep this for.
Oh,
I had the hat.
The hat. Well, the
hat.
hat's the important bit. The tash is.
It's good, isn't it? Slightly more ginger, let's be honest.
Yeah, it is.
Thomas Sullivan Magnum could carry off a better tash than I could.
The third, just to be clear.
How long we could geek out on this for. So, Ian.
Yes.
Your turn to have a go.
Thank you.
First one is the handbrake challenge. It's hard to explain this other than you lift it up and then sort of down.
Right. Off.
Nope.
I reckon.
Not off.
Not off? Oh no, it's not, is it? Right, I'll tell you
see?
what. Let's take it out of gear before we...
Oh, two times. That's pretty impressive.
It is
That's pretty
now.
impressive.
Right, okay, so...
So you get yourself sat situated.
Right.
We're going that way.
We are going that way.
I had a quick conversation with your wife. She gave me a little bit of knowledge about you. So she said you were an 80s film TV buff.
Yes.
Hence why. I mean, really, I need no excuse to try and dress myself up like Magnum, but I'll take it.
Sounds reasonable.
And normally what we do is start to ask people a few questions, because the conversation goes flat whilst they're sat there going, don't bend the Ferrari, don't bend the Ferrari, don't bend the Ferrari.
Yeah, don't bend the Ferrari. It's quite...
No, make it loud. Did you pass your test first time?
Fifth.
Ooh, what were you driving?
A Citroen CX diesel.
CX?
Yeah.
That's interesting. First car?
Series 3 1982 Land Rover.
Oh, that's very cool. That's very cool. You keep that for a long time?
Yes, yeah, I had that for 6 years.
Did the doors lock?
No.
No.
Or not in a way that weren't able to be undone with a spoon. So
everybody needs a good spoon to open.
Yeah,
their car.
exactly. You know,
Right.
it was one of those, definitely one of those situations.
Right. So you're going to need to do an elegant 17-point turn
Yes,
here.
let's see if we can. I'm gonna try.
You think you're going to do this in one, don't you?
No, I'm not
Turn
gonna.
in circle of a super tanker. Not a chance.
Hang on. So how do we get this into
Down
down and in?
There you
Yeah.
go. The top 5 TV shows of the 1980s then. Are we going cartoon or are we going real life?
Oh,
'Cause
well.
you're a bit younger than me, so
Let's see.
you clearly remember Magnum.
I do remember Magnum. I had an unhealthy interest in Magnum. I was a big fan.
Sorry, mine was perfectly healthy. Oh.
That is rather tremendous.
It is.
Instant smile.
And on that note, I probably need to get rid of this hat.
Yeah.
And maybe shave this tash.
Maybe.
Or maybe not.
Maybe not. I didn't keep it. I definitely. I'm genuinely touched. Thank you.
Thanks for your time. Absolutely had a ball. Appreciate it. Thanks, Ian.
That's all right. Thank you for having me.